Oh, welcome to a very grey and dirty Massum. Just had a pot of steam with Andy and chatting about old cars over the years and how much money. Hey, certainly. How much money I've squandered over the years on cars. But I've just been saying, don't regret it. But if you're like me, the amount thus squandered is measured in probably tens of thousands, to be fair. From my very first Mark III Cortina, registration number BET517L, 1300 Mark III Cortina. Hey, what a motor. And then after that I had a shed of a 2-litre XL Cortina. And after that I had a Vauxhall Carlton. Who remembers them? Vauxhall Carlton I had. And then what did I have after me Vauxhall Carlton? That were a V-Reg 72 plate. 79, sorry. V-Reg 1979. Then I had a Rover P6 2.2 litre single carb. Head gasket went on that, hey, as well as rust on the C-pillar. One of those with the boot, with the spare tyre on top of the boot. They didn't all have that, but they had a tiny boot space. So some of them, the spare tyre went on top of the boot. Looked quite cool. And then, yeah, head gasket went on that, so then I ended up with a Ford Cortina Mark V 1.6 gear estate in a beautiful pastel green colour. All the velour seats and wood door cappings and all of that. 1.6 gear Mark V Cortina. That were on a V plate as well. That were a V-Reg, a 79. No, I don't think it were an 80 V, the late V. Aye, that were a cracking car. But I pranged that one. And after that, because I had a bit of spare cash on back of a load of overtime that I got in the cops after I just joined it with a miners' dispute. And I got a load of overtime. I think I did about 3 months without a day off, so I got a boatload of overtime and went and splurged it on a 2-year-old, as it was at the time, a Vauxhall Royale 4-door saloon. Don't know if you remember then. Absolute top of the range Vauxhall. Beautiful gold coloured crushed velour interior, metallic red car, 2.8 litre, straight 6. Beautiful car that. That gearbox, automatic gearbox started playing up on it. So I ended up chopping that in for a Ford Cortina again, Mark V 2.3 V6 gear. Automatic, that one, on an X plate, so 1982. And that ended up getting, I was on my way home from work when I was working as a PC at Bradford Central Police Station. I was on early turn. I was on early turn and I was driving home, lived in Bradford Moor then, And there were a police pursuit coming the other way, would you believe, of a stolen wagon. This stolen wagon, or everybody trashing cars as this fleet of police traffic cars were chasing it. And the flaming thing hit me on my way home. So that totaled me Cortina gear, my second one. I think after that I ended up with an Opel Record, which is the same as a Vauxhall Carlton, just with an Opel badge on it. I had that for a bit. Then I ended up with another bog standard 1600 Mark V Cortina that I bought off my uncle. I had that for a bit. I had a Volvo 240 DL, sorry, 244 DL. Volvo 244 DL, right, tank, that one. Then I had, briefly, I had an old Austin Maxi after that. And what did I have after that? At one point I had a 2 litre Rover SD1 Mark II, the Mark II SD1, but it were only the 2 litre, it were hopelessly underpowered. Because I did a 2.3, a 2.6 and a V8 and a Vitesse version of that, but mine was 2 litre. Hey, wasn't right clever. Aye, what did I have after that there? Rover SD1, Austin Maxi, what did I end up with? Oh, I ended up with a Vauxhall Senator 2.5 straight 6. They were either a 2.5 or a 3 litre, the Mark I Senators, long before the 24 valve versions. Yeah, Vauxhall Senator 2.5, a black one on a B-Reg. 1980, what would that be? B-Reg. 84, 85. Aye. The bloody head gasket went on that, but a beautiful car. Aye, can't remember what I got after that. I've had that many E39 BMWs and Range Rovers and oh yeah, that's what I got after, a 528i, BMW 528i on a C-Reg after that. Crikey. And yeah, a couple of E39 BMWs, a 523i, sorry, and a 540i V8 Estate. That were a monster. I had an Audi A4 2.6 V6. What Range Rover did I had a Range Rover L322. That spent more time in bloody Gary. It went through about 4 water pumps, that. Kept blowing water pumps. Beautiful car when it were working, but that wasn't very often. But yeah, crikey, when you look back at the amount of money that you can spend on cars in your youth, and well, not necessarily in your youth. It were a habit I never particularly got out of until I got seriously into motorcycles, back into motorcycles, and then my sort of interest in characterful cars waned and became subordinate to my interest in characterful motorcycles. But yeah, no regrets. We'll just go have another look at the Leeds Pals Memorial up here. Bike's already black bright, so a bit more ain't going to make much difference, is it? The one car that I sort of forgot to mention that I bought quite cheap, that I sorely regret chopping in for next to nothing, was a Ford Sierra XR4i. Had a black one with the red coachwork. Ford Sierra XR4i. What a beauty. And the number plate were A222NAT Nat. So anybody called Nathan or Natalie many years later would have paid handsomely just for the number plate. A222 Nat NAT. Had 137,000 mile on it when I bought it, but it was still sweet as anything. That V6 2.8 litre engine. No powered steering. It were a full Popeye muscles job driving that car, but it were a cracker. And of course one of those in good nick now is going to cost you an arm and a leg, sir. There were the XR4i and there was the XR 4x4i later on. That was a 2.9 litre, the Granada engine basically, and that wasn't anything like as characterful as the XR4i, the two-door job. Because of course there were the XR2i Fiesta, XR3i Escort and XR4i Sierra. When cars were proper cars than us. Here we go. Leeds Pals Memorial. Now I know I've been here before. I don't think Andy's been here before. But I know I've got a video of this further back, but I always find it very moving. And this is the last day of November, and of course November being Armistice Month, Remembrance Month. And what we got here, Captain Walter Morehouse died 22nd November 1917. What's that? Sergeant R.E. Woolley. To Dad. Yeah. Food for thought up here, matey. Food for thought up here. Yeah. Have you been here before?
I have. Yeah.
Right. So that these will all have been put here a couple of weeks ago, won't they?
Yep. Young'uns today don't know they're alive, do they?
No. No. Have you ever been up there? Does that go anywhere?
I
don't think it does.
Not according to this map.
No. Well, not according to the sign at the bottom.
Here. Seems to.
Oh yeah, no, that one would, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
We've come down there, so that, and I don't know where that would take you, but anyway. We may try it in spring. Spring will do. You've done well to get a signal here.
Pardon survey. No, I don't think it goes anywhere.
Doesn't it?
What's the end of the road, doesn't it? So can't track from there. No.
Colsterdale Moor. It promised us a dry day, and it's chuffing raining. Well, I'm on Little Norman, so if it does rain I'm going to get wetter than a wet thing. And I do have waterproofs in the panniers, but Andy don't, and it doesn't seem right for me to stop and put them on when he ain't got them. but the weather forecast said it were going to be dry all day. The tinkers. The only thing with this time of year, of course, is if the hazard isn't frost, snow and ice on the road, it's filthy, dirty, wet, horrible mud and gravel and farmyard detritus. But as I was saying to Andy back in Massam, I'd rather be wet and mucky and cold out on the bike than warm, dry and clean sat at home. What do you say? Hey! Aye, so we're talking about old cars, weren't we? Yeah. Aye, the amount of money you spend, and of course latterly the same can be said of bikes. I've got to grow out of it one day. But cars now, a bit like bikes in many respects, cars now are just so sort of homogenous, aren't they? They've got no individual personalities about them anymore, like they did back in the days when, well, back in my day, your cars basically, they were either British Leyland, Vauxhall or Ford, and that were it. And anything else was either prohibitively expensive or just regarded as foreign muck. Hey! Yeah, so yeah, you either had a car of sorts out of one of them three stables, unless you had monstrous money and you were able to afford Bentleys and Rolls Royces and Jensens and Aston Martins and things of that nature. But of course Ford, Vauxhall and British Leyland, or BMC as it later became, all had their top of the range offerings if you were into something a little bit more luxurious. But by and large, yeah, I would have said 80-90% of cars back then in this country were from one of them three stables, with maybe the odd German or French imposter. But they had real personality. And I just think it's a bit of a shame, really. You know how we have modern classic motorcycles, but we don't really have modern classic cars, do we? Why is that? I think we're missing a bit of a trick there. I mean, the nearest car I ever owned that could loosely be regarded as being a modern classic car was I had an S-Type Jaguar. Now, I don't know if you remember the S-Type Jaguar. That's the S-Type, not the X-Type. The X-Type were just a Ford Mondeo, basically, with a Jaguar body on it. Which I had one of those as well, X-Type. The gearbox packed in at 50 odd thousand miles. That's how good they were. Automatic gearbox. Shat itself. with just 50,000 mile on the clock. But the S-Type were a different creature, proper luxurious car, magic carpet ride, beautiful thing. I had the 3 litre V6 petrol, which is the one to have. Apparently the 4 litre V8s were a bit temperamental, and the 2.5 litre V6s were underpowered. But I had, and it was the Mark II version, the facelift version, because the first incarnation of the S-Type Jaguar, it just didn't have quite the premium feel of it as a facelift one that came about in sort of like 2002, 2003. Mine were an 04 plate, beautiful. Yeah, and that's I can't really think of another car that you might potentially label as sort of retro. But Jaguar in knocking out the S-Type, definitely, because it was made to look like the old sort of old Mark III Jags. Or were it Mark II Jags? I mean, there was an earlier S-Type Jaguar, but it was meant to have that look of the earlier Jaguars, you know, the Inspector Morse type Jaguars, a bit of a look of that about them, which I thought looked really, really cool. But I can't think of another car that you could regard as being a modern classic car, and it's a bit of a shame, really. I suppose to produce such a thing would be prohibitively expensive for most people. Are you letting me past, or are you just... Here we go. Hard to tell, and of course these little classic 350s don't have a huge amount of overtaking power, but more than enough there. Aye! So there's going to be a bit of a Christmas quiz. I'm going to have another little Christmas quiz just for a bit of fun, but there'll be a prize for the first person to win, basically. I'm not so sure how it's going to be, what format it will take. I don't want to obviously do something that's too easily Googleable, because that'd be cheating. So I'll try and apply my mind to a little brain teaser or two that you can't really Google your way out of. But there's going to be a prize, and it'll be quite a decent prize, I can tell you that. It won't be just a couple of key rings and a buff this time. Hey, they're worth having. So watch out for that in the next couple of weeks. And with all that non-specific, pretty non-thematic nonsense on this grey, damp winter's day in the middle of the Yorkshire Dales, I shall just let this ride pan out into the greyness for your greater edification. Wish you safe riding until the next time. Implore you to be kind to your fellow man and woman, and animal for that matter. And yeah, I will see thee. I'll see thee.